Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone, to the Steve Malzberg program. My name is Dom Giordano, sitting in for Steve today. I've sat in for him on many occasions. I hope some of you have heard me or seen me over the years doing various things. And today is a big news day. Momentarily, we'll be joined by the guy who's making major news. That would be Senator Rand Paul. Rand Paul's on my local radio show on a number of occasions, and he's making a lot of news because Senator Paul is engaged in this duke out with Governor Christie of New Jersey, a guy that I used to respect and used to have on my show a lot and used to be someone that really I had high hopes for. In fact, Governor Christie, responding to Rand Paul, talks about what this feud is about. It's a big issue. It's about issues like national security, NSA. It's about government spending, and it's about the future of the Republican Party. Here's a little bit of what Governor Christie said with this ongoing dispute with Senator Rand Paul, who'll be our guest very shortly here on the Steve Malzberg program. Here's Governor Christie.
I find it interesting that Senator Paul is accusing us of having a gimme, gimme, gimme attitude towards federal spending when, in fact, New Jersey is a donor state, and we get 61 cents back on every dollar we send to Washington. And interestingly, Kentucky gets $1.51 on every dollar they send to Washington. So if Senator Paul wants to start looking at where he's going to cut spending to afford defense, maybe he should start looking at cutting the pork barrel spending that he brings home to Kentucky.
All right, take that, Senator Paul. And here is Senator Rand Paul joining Dom Giordano. Senator, good to talk with you again. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dom. Glad to be with you.
Well, you know, it's always a great time when we have you on because you are in the center. What you brought in a very short time to the Senate is what Governor Christie, who used to be an esteemed guest, calls esoteric. So I guess I'm esoteric and you're esoteric.
Yeah, you know, the thing about all the spending, and this is what really wasn't adequately debated up here. When we debated the funding for Sandy,
right,
I actually supported giving them 1 year's worth of funding and then offset the spending that we spent on Sandy, offset it with spending cuts from money that we're spending overseas, giving to countries that are burning our flag. So you would think, you know, most Republicans would support that. One, we helped people in need. The government, you know, can have a role, but we didn't add to the deficit by doing it. What I objected to was many, and often some of the Republicans, who just said they just want it all. They want everything, and they didn't care whether we offset it. That's what got us in this problem, and that is the kind of attitude we need to fight against, and we need to say we have to be responsible. And, you know, that's what I've been fighting ever since I've come up here. I'm the one with the 5-year balanced budget that actually eliminates federal departments.
What's your response to, now the debate comes out, we hear this often in states like New Jersey, Senator, where Governor Christie says they only get, 61 cents back for every dollar they send to Washington. You're in Washington. You're taking that and you're hijacking it to Kentucky.
Well, one, it's just not true. I haven't hijacked anything to Kentucky. I haven't voted for any special projects in Kentucky. We do have 2 military bases. I do support them, but we've actually never had any special legislation that's allowed me to direct money to anybody in Kentucky. So really, the formula of the way things go out is it goes, more money goes to poor people. But I'm one of the ones trying to reform the entitlement programs and make sure it only goes to those who can't work, not to those who won't work. So really, you know, it's sort of a tiff that's been created that I think I'm ready to get beyond this, because the thing is the party needs to be bigger. In New England and in the Northeast, the Republican Party is on life support, so really squabbling among Republicans is just not useful. He started it, but I'm ready to end it, and so I'm hoping that we can, you know, get back to attacking Democrats. Certainly, aren't there enough Democrats to attack?
I would agree, but I know from firsthand experience when you don't go fully down the Christie line, you're seeing what happens. But I wanted to get you to something, though, that's a serious disagreement between the two of you, Senator, not just this little back and forth stuff. And that involved the Christie saying it's esoteric, these debates over the NSA and related matters. I'm more in your camp on this, but I think it's a fairly tight call on providing for security while at the same time protecting our liberties. And Christie seems to represent the establishment. You represent, to me, a door to young people with this and others that are open to hearing about privacy rights and civil rights.
You know, one of the things is that when you talk to young people and you tell them about the Republican message of low taxes, balanced budgets, and less regulation, they sort of have a blank look and they say, well, I don't own anything. I don't have anything that's taxed. I don't pay much in taxes, but I do have a cell phone and I am on the Internet, and I'm concerned about the government snooping and spying on Americans without a warrant. The other thing is there are other libertarian-like ideas. One of them is that you shouldn't be detained or indefinitely detained without a trial. And unfortunately, the Congress and the president last year passed legislation that says that an American could be accused, sent to Guantanamo Bay with no trial, no accusation, basically forever. And to me, that's reminiscent of some of the bad times in our history, when we did that to the Japanese in World War II, when we had times in the Old South when blacks were detained or violently assaulted or even killed without any kind of trial. So I think these issues, these libertarian issues that some think are esoteric, are actually great Bill of Rights issues that show that the Republican Party can and will stand up for minority rights, will stand whether it's your religion or the color of your skin. We are the party that does believe in justice.
And I got to say, I and my listeners, we're charting you on this, and at times there's slight disagreement, but I haven't heard you say anything that I think is wildly out of bounds to this wacko bird stuff that Senator McCain and others talk about. In other words, I think you've been very sober about these, while differing at times. Would you have voted to defund that bill in the House last week, the NSA?
Yes. I think what we need to do with the NSA, I'm for spying. I'm all for spying on terrorists, but I just want to get, go one terrorist at a time through judges' warrants and not all Americans. The fact that they're doing all Americans, to me, goes against really the spirit of the American Revolution. When James Otis stirred things up and John Adams said it was part of what we fought for, it was against warrants written by soldiers and against the idea of generalized warrants, a warrant that went to no named individual. Mm-hmm. So when we wrote the Fourth Amendment, we said you have to name the person, the place, and the things you want, and then a policeman can't write the warrant. You have to ask a judge. These were incredibly important to our founding fathers, and I think we shouldn't give up on this. And so, yeah, I think the NSA program has gone too far.
Yeah, that's the gut instinct, Senator, of most of our listeners, and I've seen some of these surveys that mirror my listeners who are all about the government doing whatever has to be done to protect us, but are very concerned with where this has gone. What's the most cutting line that you seem to react to back with Governor Christie, particularly in this challenge, about the 9/11 widows? Now, that to me seemed to be really trying to paint you into a corner.
I think it's a low blow for anyone to use someone's tragedy. The president has used people's tragedy to try to advance, different agendas that he has, and it's sort of the same way here. Is there anybody in America who really doesn't feel great sympathy for those who died in 9/11 and lost family members?
But here's the challenge. Let me get you on the record, directly here to it. He's saying, though, what you propose would allow us to be open to this stuff again. We can't take any chances here. What you're saying may be nice in a book, but it's going to allow a smidgen of a chance to be open to that kind of attack.
No, and what's wrong with that argument is if we're ever attacked again, they'll say, it was the Bill of Rights. We should have really eliminated all liberties. I think you can have both. I think you can have security and liberty, and I think you can follow the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and capture terrorists. I have heard of no evidence, I mean zero evidence, that any of the plots that we have stopped could not have been gotten with a traditional warrant. They say they like having all this data, and they do go through it, but every instance of someone they stopped, a real informant gave a name or a suspicion of a name, and the original work was done with a warrant, and then they started combing through other records. But they always got the tip-off from an informant.
Parting question for you, an area that I think you're right. We're centering on the food fight here, but an area you're passionate on, I have high hopes for, and you may even have more knowledge, that this opens us up as conservatives to minority communities, is the school choice issue. I know you've spoken in Philadelphia, where I'm from, and other places around this. Talk about that, the power of it, and how it brings all these issues home together, I think.
Well, I had two hearings this week, one at a charter school in Nashville, Tennessee, and the other one in D.C. D.C. not only has a lot of charter schools, it's got a voucher program that's been around for a while, and they also have private school scholarships. So we had kids come in from all of them. You would be amazed at these kids. They're so articulate, and I was so proud of them going on to college and the successes. You know, one young woman learned Mandarin in high school, went to a private school, Georgetown Day, went on to Oberlin College, is now going off to Japan for a job that she's gotten, and just amazing. And I imagine what it must have been like in the original school where she was, and she got so lucky to get out. One parent told about 1,000 kids who are trying to get into a charter school that has 30 openings. You know, really, what that does is it competition, you know, breeds excellence, and the schools will get better and better. There's no reason why every public school couldn't become a charter school, which means it would be more freedom for the teachers to decide the curriculum and how you teach, and less intrusiveness from bureaucrats.
What in the immediate future, Senator, next couple of months, what's going to really be a centerpiece for Rand Paul? What are you looking at?
We're going to go around the country on a tour of school choice. We're going to go in the near future to Chicago and to Milwaukee, the home of the vouchers, and we're going to keep talking about this because the Democrats in my state are opposing school choice. They're opposing charter schools, and the status quo is allowing about 50% of kids in a lot of these neighborhoods not to graduate from high school. If you don't graduate from high school, your unemployment rate is greater than 25%. So when the president says he cares about the middle class and about people getting into the middle class, he doesn't care enough to fix the school problem, and we're going to show him that Republicans can and will.
Thank you, Senator. Rand Paul, thank you very much. Thanks for all the time you share with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, Senator Rand Paul here on the Steve Malzberg program today with Dom Giordano. Coming up, more on that. I'll give you a few more thoughts. And I want to give you an insight into disability and a study that's out on who's disabled in America and why. Straight ahead on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight. Nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special Internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Steve Malzberg today. And on my radio show, when I talk about disability, these huge disability claims in America, the phone lines light up. Everybody has a story. I have a guy who is the senior watchdog for the Washington Examiner, Luke Rosiak, who has written about this. And more importantly, Luke, you've taken these reams of these surveys that were done by the Social Security Administration about who's on disability. Luke, tell us about the profile of these people on SSI and SSDI.
Well, there's two types of disability, as you mentioned. SSDI is for people who have worked for at least a few years and paid a little bit into Social Security. SSI is people who have really never done a thing in their lives except collect government checks. The Social Security Administration for a while was looking at trying to get some of these people to work. So they asked them some questions that really went unnoticed until I did a story on it yesterday in the Washington Examiner about their desires to work and what was exactly driving them to be on disability. And a whole bunch of them admitted that they were not disabled at all. The reason they were on disability was because they couldn't find a job. But the interesting thing there is they said, well, they hadn't even looked for a job. And a lot of these people, 40% of them don't even have a GED. So they say the reason I can't get a job is because I don't have skills to compete in the modern economy. But then the follow-up questions that they were asked were, so we're offering you, subsidized schooling, job training, and things like that. Are you doing anything to improve your skills? And they said no. So these people were very honest with the Social Security Administration in this confidential survey and said, look, we're pretty happy where we are. We could work, but we don't want to, and we don't want to improve our skills. For the ones that did say they had medical problems, they said that they hadn't visited the doctor in the last year and that almost none of them had received any medical treatment to improve their physical condition. So here they are saying, well, the reason we can't work is because we have this problem, but we don't want to do anything about our physical problem.
Hey, Luke, well, that is just amazing, the statistics, the information that you've gotten here. And some counties in America, it is close to a third of the people in places in Kentucky, et cetera, right, that are engaged in this. And when you get that, it's just devastating, the work ethic, the whole community.
Right. I mean, in Appalachia and parts of Kentucky, it's 1/3, and these are people that are collecting $1,000 a month or more for life. They can literally go on it because, again, I mean, this is very different than workers' comp, where someone was injured on the job and they probably had worked for a decade or more before that occurred. I mean, these are injuries that had nothing to do with jobs in many cases. A lot of times the person had never had a job. So these are people who are going on the dole in their 20s or early 30s, and they're staying there for life. And in certain communities, as word has spread about this program, I mean, you can just witness it spread virally. Someone is, you're in your neighborhood and someone has all this money all of a sudden, and you ask where did they get it, and they tell their friends and the relatives, oh, I got it from this program here.
Hey, Luke, I think it's a career path. That's what my listeners have said. This has become kind of a career path rather than college or graduation, credentials, and all that. It's literally a career path for some folks.
Right, and when you're petitioning to be declared disabled, the biggest factor is not even the severity of your injury. It's could you get a job based on your skills. So, in other words, if you're obese and you have some mobility problems, a judge is going to say you're not disabled if you have a college degree, because you can just get an office job and work at your computer.
So the lower you are, and if you are obese, you can't work then.
Right, because the thinking is, you'd have to be doing a factory job, and they consult this book that was literally made in the 1970s that lists the different jobs.
Wait a minute, what's the book that they consult? Tell me what that is.
It lists jobs in each metropolitan area that are available. So this was made in the 70s when, computer programmer, things like that wouldn't even have been a job, and even low-skilled jobs.
Do you know the name of the book, though, Luke? I'd love to get that and use that on the air.
I don't know the name of the book. I don't know that the public can even access it. And the Social Security.
Get it. But Luke, you're right. This is antiquated. It's corrosive, and you've done a great job. I'm sure there'll be more follow-up to getting to the bottom of this. Thanks. I'm very, very glad that we're able to get you on here at the Steve Malzberg Show today. Continued luck with this, too, as you parse it out. Luke Rosiak, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, that's the guy from the Watchdog from the Washington Examiner. And I'll find out what that book is that they're consulting and why people feel they can't work, don't want to work. They have a medical problem, yet they haven't seen a doctor within a year. They haven't looked for a job within a month. All right, coming up, we're going to talk with Roger Stone, political consultant. We'll talk about all manners of things with him, including a new book out about LBJ, JFK, and the Kennedy assassination. That's straight ahead. Dom Giordano pinch hitting on the Steve Malzberg program.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Dom Giordano pinch hitting for my friend Steve Malzberg. Roger Stone is a guy that most people in talk radio have interviewed a ton of times because he's so insightful, so inside so many of the issues that we talk about. He is both a political consultant, lobbyist, and strategist, author of a new bestseller, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Roger Stone, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Don, great to be with you.
Well, Roger, I'm reading Passage to Power right now. I don't even know why. I picked up the book, the 1,200 pages, whatever it is, on LBJ. And what's the best evidence that LBJ was complicit in any of this?
The very best evidence, of course, is that the only fingerprint found in the 6th floor sniper's nest by the FBI that they can't identify, that is later identified, belongs to a man named Malcolm Wallace, longtime employee and hitman for Lyndon Baines Johnson. Robert Caro's books are masterful, and he dances all around the question of whether LBJ had John F. Kennedy whacked when he was approached in public and asked how he could write 3 volumes and not mention Malcolm Mac Wallace. Mr. Caro turns sheet white and demands the telephone number and card for the person asking the question. So it's an act of cowardice. I think, as people will see, I make a very comprehensive case that LBJ had the motive, the means, and the opportunity. He was facing prison. He was facing political ruin through both the Bobby Baker investigation and the Billy Sol Estes investigations, 2 giant corruption investigations of the 1960s. It was get rid of JFK or be dumped from the ticket and head to federal prison.
Let's talk about current politics and machinations. I know we've all seen guys, and I remember hearing you on my local station in Philadelphia talking about Spitzer, but let's talk about Anthony Weiner. I understand why he's not giving up and why he's out there. What else does he have to do other than to keep on going? What do you say?
Yeah, no, he's the ultimate political animal.
Yes.
He's addicted to his own voice. He's addicted to his TV image. He has no job. His wife, as you know, makes big bucks as a consultant. At the same time, she's working for the State Department. The only person in the United States who is allowed to do that, by the way. And there's nothing else in his life. Although I think it's important to stress that while what Weiner did is perhaps perverted and disgusting, what Spitzer did was highly illegal, and there's a big difference therein.
Yeah, but Spitzer is running for a lower office. Is that why there's not as much heat on him?
I think that's part of it, although I do think that the polls show that he's beginning to slip and that there's more and more scrutiny, not only of his current campaign, but his temperament, his lack of mental balance, his public temper tantrums, his misuse of public funds to spy on his enemies, his threats, his telephone threats to Sean Hannity, to Ambassador John Whitehead, a truly distinguished American, where he, as Attorney General, he picks up the phone and calls these men and threatens to, quote unquote, get them. This is a guy with a screw loose. This is a guy who's not mentally balanced. He is one can short of a six-pack, and he really, therefore, can't be trusted with public authority.
We're talking with Roger Stone. Now, let me go back to Weiner here and why I think this is breaking loose today, too. There's a lot of evidence that his wife, Anthony Weiner's wife, Roger, as you know, is on extended vacation hiatus from Hillary Clinton. Now we see Drudge is reporting there is a Monica Lewinsky sex tape out there with Bill Clinton. And I think all these things are very, very uncomfortable for Hillary. Do you share that, or is she beyond any of that?
Well, if you go back and look at that 60 Minutes clip of her standing up for her man when he got caught red-handed with Jennifer Flower, it's the same soulless BS. Right. In other words, oh, I'm standing by my man. Let's be clear. The Clintons have a business arrangement. They're both corrupt. We still haven't heard the truth about Benghazi. And then she's going to tell us about being shot at the airport in Kosovo, which never happened. I mean, this woman's a bigger liar than Richard Nixon. She's incapable of telling the truth. So I think this is a minor embarrassment to the Clintons, but as you may have seen, Don, this week, a political action committee advocating her election for President of the United States, the Ready for Hillary committee already raised $1.5 million. Extraordinary.
Now, so you don't see her as inevitable. Is it just Benghazi? Is there a fatal flaw? I see her, and I defer to you. You do this. You're one of the best in the country. I do get inevitable, at least to get the nomination, no?
There's nothing ever inevitable in politics. In fact, I'm sure those who are going to her today and say, Mrs. Clinton, you must run, you're a sure thing, the right answer is really, that's what they said last time. To me, she looks old and she looks tired, and I want her to be asked those questions. In fact, I want her to be badgered with those questions. She continues to lie about Benghazi. Look, if I have to hire a kid with a bullhorn to follow her around, she's going to answer those questions. There's no way she can continue to duck them. So I believe her high watermark is right now when she's not in the fray. Let her show up in New Hampshire. I'll have some people to meet her. They have some tough questions for her. And she's not above that. This First Lady, Secretary of State, I mean, other than the fact that as Secretary of State, she systematically presided over the loss of every country in the Middle Eastern region and the worst foreign policy in our history, what does she have to show? What is her great qualification? Being married to that embarrassing hillbilly from Arkansas, Bill Clinton, that's no qualification.
Hey, Roger, let's talk about the other side. We just had Rand Paul here on the show, and I'm a big fan of what he's done so far, and I think he's been careful to get away from some of the overkill of his father. But this spat with Chris Christie going after him, my take is that Governor Christie's trying to move rightward because he's tarnished his conservative credentials by some of his other actions. Who's ahead in this whole thing with Rand Paul and Governor Christie?
Well, I'm not sure anybody's ahead or behind. I think they're both viable presidential candidates. As you point out, I think Rand Paul is more of a traditional conservative with a libertarian bent as opposed to a radical libertarian like his father. By the way, I voted for his father in the Florida Republican primary. I like the stand he took on drones. I don't like Chris Christie's stand on Sharia. I think Sharia is a mistake for America. Yes, I think your analysis is exactly right, Don. I think he's trying to shore up his credentials. But if I were Rand Paul, I would simply say, Chris, let's have a couple cheeseburgers and go for a jog.
Hey, we have to let you in on that line. The book, Continued Success with It, the man who killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ. Roger Stone, thanks for joining us today on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Roger Stone with us here. You get to us on the Malzberg Show at 855-777-9660. You can get to me, Dom Giordano, pinch hitting today. Roger Stone made a number of good observations, and I think that Anthony Weiner will continue, no doubt about it. In addition to that, the fight between Rand Paul and Governor Christie, I think that Rand Paul has the better of it. I think he represents where a lot of conservatives are today. And they get that I'm watching a story all morning long where a judge has just ruled that when you make a phone call, do you have an expectation of privacy? The government ruled that no. if it's your phone carrier, particularly a cell phone, that this is where the area was, that is their property. They can do whatever they will with it. You don't have an expectation of privacy with that. Now, I think when you make a phone call, whether cell phone or not, other than someone overhearing you in the general area, I think you should have an expectation of privacy. This is the stuff we're getting into with the NSA and all the data that's being gathered on the average American. So I have a lot more to say about that. I have a lot more to say, too, here about Univision today. Univision has won the month of July, beating the other 4 networks. Univision is number 1, particularly among younger demos. And I'll explain in a little bit the concern I have with that, where the difficulty might be with that, with Univision, the Spanish-speaking channel, number 1. It's staggering to beat ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox News, Fox Broadcast Network. That's all straight ahead. A lot of other great guests. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message, because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Mauskop. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Mauskop's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast.
And it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dom Giordano, pinch hitting for Steve. Thanks for joining us today. Unbelievable stuff I mentioned a moment ago. Univision, #1, beating out all the other networks that are out there. I mean, this is big news. You know what it's like to be #1? CBS, NBC, ABC kill each other for market share, down to the most minuscule spot imaginable. And to beat them out across the month of July, kudos to Univision. But the only concern I have is, I've told some of the guys here about this when they heard me mention it. Yeah, they have hot women on there, and they have hot soap operas and all that. Well, the breakout that I saw around Univision said it's a cultural thing. People feel culturally comfortable there. Okay, I get that, but a black entertainment TV doesn't do these type of numbers. They're minuscule in comparison to broadcast TV. This won in the month of July. I don't see it as a good thing. Does it lead us to believe that a lot of people that are Hispanic may not want to assimilate? Is it just that they have hot shows, fun shows, that they're masters at the audience and the advertisers that they have? They're doing incredibly well. So that's going on out there today. I don't think it's a good sign. Also, later in the show, the Malzberg Show today, we'll talk with Senator Mike Lee. I want to play you a little cut from Mike Lee. He is the point guy now. Big debate, not only nationally on Obamacare, but the big debate inside the Republican Party. I've interviewed all the principal players over the last month or so, and they're mixed about whether Republicans should push the Obama administration into a showdown. And the showdown would be, are you going to defund Obamacare? Can you defund Obamacare? This is our last best chance to stop it. Here's Senator Mike Lee, and he'll be on the show a little bit later, talking about this defunding strategy and what it might provoke.
In this body who are in fact opposed to Obamacare, I ask you, how can you oppose to be against it and yet fund it? And so I would invite you to consider the possibility that what you're doing in thinking about funding it isn't really where you want to go. Consider what might be said about this. Defund it or own it. If you fund it, you're for it. This law, Mr. President, was enacted without a meaningful opportunity for the members voting on it to read it. 2,700 pages long. After it was enacted into law, it was rewritten. A total of 4 times, twice by the Supreme Court of the United States, twice more by the President of the United States. The President's rewrites came just a few weeks ago, the Supreme Court's rewrites over a year ago. But what the President did was acknowledge that this law is not ready for prime time. This law is not ready to implement. This law is not one that he's willing to implement as written. He's going to implement and enforce it selectively, holding hardworking Americans, individuals and families to the fire while throwing a big bone to big business. This, Mr. President, is not acceptable. This, Mr. President, is un-American. This, Mr. President, is not something that those of us who purport to be against Obamacare can support by funding it. And so I invite my colleagues to join me in this cause, to vote to fund government, but not Obamacare. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader. And that's the argument, and we'll hear from Mike Lee a little bit later in the program. As I said here on the Steve Malzberg Show, this guy is in the center of a huge, huge debate that can have big-time repercussions. I am where he is, where Senator Lee is, to think this is their last best chance to defeat what is going to be a nightmare come October 1st. And that's not a scare story. One of the reasons the president pushed the employer mandate back is exactly that. He knows how much confusion and difficulty. You even have the IRS employee unions, all kinds of unions, saying they don't want to be part of Obamacare. They like exactly what they've had on their own website. This was the killer to me. How many times did we see the president say, Dom and everyone else, if you like your health care, if you like your doctor, you'll be able to keep that doctor, period. He said, period, period, period. We need some new punctuation there, because in the very Health and Human Services website, it now says you may be able to keep your doctors when Obamacare registration starts on October 1st. It is going to be confusing, costly. There are countless stories. It's almost hard to keep up with them every day about how much intrusion will be involved. What about the data? We're talking a lot, and I am very sensitive to all this NSA stuff, all the spy stuff. And as I said, just came down a little bit earlier today, that when you make a cell phone call, that's the property of the provider, not your property, not your privacy. Well, what about the fact of this data hub? There'll be a data hub under Obamacare where these navigators, I talked with a guy today, there'll be thousands of them in California alone, some of them low paid, some of them with no background check, community organizers of one sort or another trying to get that information toward continuing to pitch Obamacare or to use it for registering people to vote or God knows what else. Your medical records, your financial records, because of the IRS component, will all be there. When we see the record of the NSA, we see what's been going on. Is that where we want to be? So Mike Lee is really throwing down the gauntlet to Republicans, saying that if you want to, you can continue to fund the government. We can keep the government open. Remember, with the sequester, we were able to do that. There's certain things we're not funding, but we're continuing the operation of the government. We don't have to get caught in that box. That's what President Obama wants to do. We can fund the government, but defund Obamacare. Otherwise, what's the option? What's the alternative? The alternative is to continue to hurtle toward what is going to be disaster. The president knows it, we know it, and we'll see the countdown on that. Hey, one other thing on my mind today, too. I'm a big sports guy, play a lot of sports, golf mostly now, some basketball a little bit. We're going to talk later in the show with a dad of a son who got caught up in steroids to try to improve as a baseball player. And I think come Friday of this week, there is going to be a huge, huge punishment on Alex Rodriguez. Because in the negotiations that are going on, I don't think Rodriguez is giving ground with Major League Baseball. I think he's caught up, allegedly, in the latest 15 major baseball players caught up in the latest steroid scandal. And I think you're going to see a big-time penalty if those negotiations don't go well. We're told by Friday. And I'm very glad about that. I think, particularly with baseball this week, with the Hall of Fame, there was no living baseball player there that was memorialized. These were all owners or others or one writer. Imagine how sad that is. This used to be the big time. When you say Hall of Fame, you meant the Baseball Hall of Fame. With steroids, many of baseball's cherished records were knocked away. Maybe the saddest point of all is how many people basically are either shrug their shoulders at this or they're fine with it. If a guy wants to hit a ball an extra 10 or 20 feet to hit a home run versus the warning track, they're fine with it. Why should it be a big deal? Why should anyone care? That's what I occasionally get on my show. I hope you're not in that camp. And come Friday, I think we're going to see baseball push back on Alex Rodriguez. One other thing that I wanted to mention before we get to some other guests here on the Malzberg Show. I've seen a lot of energy this last week in several states, particularly where I am in Pennsylvania, alerting people to the idea that the Holocaust is not talked about in many curricula across the country. In other words, it's not mandated. Only 5 states mandate that American school kids know about one of the, I would argue, the premier horror, the premier genocide of this or any generation. So you're seeing across the country a movement now to alert the public to that, to change the laws in state after state. New Jersey is one state where it is mandated that between grades 6 and 12, that school kids have to be taught the lessons of the Holocaust. I think that ought to be mandated across the country. When I brought it up on my radio show, you'd be amazed at the number of Holocaust deniers that are out there, the number of Holocaust diminishers, Those that say, why would we talk about the Holocaust when we have all these others? What about the American Indian? What about slavery? What about the Armenian massacre? What about? Well, these bills would include these other genocides, but the genocide to study is the Holocaust because of the numbers, because of the systematic nature of it, because Hitler tried to exterminate people, and because you have people on college campuses today denying it. And as more of the people that survive die off, as some of the records are lost, as some of that closeness to it, you're seeing generations of Americans, when you say to them, Holocaust, they're like, huh? What are you talking about? It has become that bad. So watch for this wherever you're watching the Steve Malzberg Show today, that you're going to see more intensity on this. This is moving forward, and it's something that I heartily support. Watch for that, though. More and more and more of this that we'll see. Hey, one more time, too, congratulations to Univision being #1. I'm still floored at that fact today. Out of everything that I've talked about all day long, it stuns me what an accomplishment that is. And it's going to play out, I think, when we see, I think it's the end of the week. I think Friday's the last day for Congress. When they go back home, be aware they will be holding town halls, and be aware of the activists that want to push for amnesty, citizenship after 15 years, which is unlikely to be a lot quicker than that for people that are here legally. What I support is legalize them, let people have paperwork, let them pay taxes, let them work, but no path to citizenship. And I think that's where the Republican Party ought to be. We ought to be concerned about jobs, the economy, and Obamacare, and not rushing to pass an amnesty bill. But we'll see. There's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of money spent. And I'm mentioning that because Univision shows you the power of Hispanics across the country. How many of them will be saying, yes, we want citizenship, we want amnesty, border security, yeah, we'll fake at that a little bit. Watch for this. Go where your representative, when they have a town hall, let them know what you think about this, and let them know what you think about Obamacare and defunding Obamacare before it's too late. Both issues will be coming up. Now's the best time of the year, because when they hold these town halls over the summer, those that do, this is the time to get in their face and let them know what you think about these issues before they come back and start voting on them in September, October, we're told by Paul Ryan. That's when we'll see it. All right, more to come here with Steve Malzberg. Great guests coming up, and more of my thoughts on the news of the day. You're watching the Steve Malzberg program with Dom Giordano pinch hitting.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. 911.com. That's Obamacare 911.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Congress is preparing to head home for a month-long break, but before they go, President Obama headed up to Capitol Hill to meet with Democrats ahead of the expected budget battle with Republicans next month. Congress must approve a budget before October 1st or face a possible government shutdown. Senate Republicans say they won't approve any budget if it includes funding for Obamacare. Also, Congress must deal with the debt ceiling again. If the U.S. does not raise the debt ceiling, it faces default. House Speaker John Boehner blasted the president's latest economic plan, calling it a scheme.
And frankly, I think we can do much better. You know, instead of working together, the president yesterday threatened to shut down the government and recycled some of his old partisan proposals.
Immigration reform is another controversial topic on the congressional agenda in September. House Republicans say they will vote on their own plan. It is uncertain whether or not it will include a path to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Also, senators meet today to discuss privacy in the wake of recent surveillance leaks exposed by Edward Snowden. Senators question White House, FBI, and NSA officials while Congress ponders scaling back the government's surveillance programs. There were also new documents released, including the order that required communications giant Verizon to turn over millions of phone records. Meanwhile, in an interview with Russian television, Snowden's father defended his son's actions.
My son has passed, so to speak, the torch of democracy. He has shared information with us and with the media.
Also today, the Senate votes on a bill sponsored by Kentucky Republican Rand Paul that would end U.S. aid to Egypt. The White House opposes cutting off the aid because it says the money is needed to help secure the border with Israel. And a sentencing hearing begins today for Army Private Bradley Manning. The 25-year-old was convicted Tuesday on charges of espionage for releasing documents to the website WikiLeaks. But the military judge did acquit Manning of the most serious charge, aiding the enemy. The former Army analyst still faces up to 100 years in prison. And it's been a bloody month in Iraq with almost 1,000 deaths caused by the escalating sectarian violence there. Tuesday, a bomb outside a Sunni mosque north of Baghdad killed 3 people. Groups including Al-Qaeda have increased attacks in recent months as the deadly clashes between Sunnis, Shias, Kurds, and others show no sign of stopping, jeopardizing stability in the country. And next up on your Newsmax Now update, the Russian people say something smells fishy at the Kremlin. The backlash over Russian President Vladimir Putin's latest exposition of bravado, plus a Newsmax exclusive with James Zogby, founder of the Arab American Institute, who has the most to gain and the most to lose in this latest round of Mideast peace talks.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
And welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin faces backlash this morning in part because of a fish story. The Kremlin released this video of the Russian president holding a fish, supposedly that he caught, but the Russian people almost instantly started mocking him, saying that the event was staged. Putin has also faced backlash from the public for laws he's passed that target gays and ban criticism of the church. Both were supposed to increase his popularity, but have had the seemingly opposite effect. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Dr. James Zogby of the Arab American Institute says expectations for the current round of Mideast peace talks are very low.
The one who will get hurt is Mahmoud Abbas, and there will be no second chance for the Palestinians.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 31st. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Dom Giordano, pinch hitting for Steve. Thanks for joining us. A lot of great guests coming up this hour and throughout the show today. One of the things that I've seen the last couple days developing that is almost amazing to me, and I talked about it on my radio show today, and it was quite a response, is the fact that near where I am in New York, Ground Zero, the museum that all Americans help to build, all Americans share, particularly if you come here and you come meet with people, has quite a controversy. There's a new book coming out, The Battle for Ground Zero, coming out in August. And the author of that maintains, and there's a lot of quotes that the New York Post had around this, that the creative director, if you can imagine, a guy who's the creative director of the museum at the Ground Zero, balked at using a picture, the iconic picture, and I could think of several iconic pictures of Americana. This one is almost on the form of Iwo Jima. Remember the Marines? Now there's raising the flag of signaling victory at Iwo Jima. Well, this were the firefighters, not signaling victory, but resilience. In those days after 9/11, raising that American flag, maybe it was even the same day, on top of the rubble of 9/11. After we were hit in shock, sure, hindsight, years and years later, it's easy to say, well, yes, that was a good thing. Imagine with the trauma, the shock that was going through New York and through the nation. I was on the air during that. And I remember that we knew pretty early on these were terrorists and thought it was Al-Qaeda, thought it was bin Laden, and all the hits on the Pentagon and then the plane in Shanksville. Well, this creative director thinks that photo, that iconic photo, that ought to be huge, a centerpiece in my museum at Ground Zero, and yours, I bet, as an American citizen and taxpayer, thinks that it's too rah-rah American, is his direct quote, too kitschy to put that out there. Too much of what he thinks. He actually said he likes America when we're not as vigilant and as vehement about being Americans. I didn't think that was in anybody's face at all. What it said is, hey, we're the United States of America. We bounce back. We get up off the mat. And in fact, I think the best moment of the Bush presidency was his bullhorn moment. And I wonder if you give us a call and tell us what was the best moment. What is that American iconic picture or piece of video? Remember when Americans spilled out? I was called in to do a late night show. My radio show is on during the day on a Sunday night. Got a call like 10:30 at night to rush in when we killed bin Laden, when we took out bin Laden, probably the high point of the Obama presidency. And Americans took to the streets. Washington, you saw it, here at Ground Zero, chanting USA, USA. I'm sure the creative director over at the 9/11 Museum would find that to be too vehement, too in your face when that happened. Someone called me today and said the iconic moment for them was the kiss. Remember the nurse and the soldier didn't know each other? That wonderful moment in Times Square. Can you imagine after the defeat of the Japanese in World War II? Can you imagine that moment? Finally, it's over. Lives that have been put on hold for, 5 years, 4.5 years in America? These are iconic American moments, and there's a reason why Americans are stirred and inspired by them. because they are part of our national DNA. So what they've done, as I understand it now, to accommodate this creative director at the 9/11 Museum, is they've taken 3 smaller shots of the firefighters raising the flag up there above the rubble. And they've put them into different views so that we see differences that people might have around this. Here's the image that we have up there. Here's the original image that we have up there on the Malzberg Show. And when you take a look at that image, to me, that says America. That says what I remember of those moments. This is true story. I'm on the air, I think it was the day of, it might have been the day after 9/11, and I'm looking for videotape so I can play the audio on the air of these people in Palestine, if you remember, chanting and screaming in the streets, happy. Why? Because the great Satan, America, had been hit and our lives had been taken away that day, 3,000 Americans. Remember that? Remember that scene? And the problem was that the CNNs, the APs of the world, they could not show that or wouldn't show it anymore because their people that they had in Palestine were threatened if they would show it. So there was a blackout of that. I had a guy who had captured that, who had been taping everything around 9/11, who was, I don't know about terminal, but he was very sick. He was at a very stage of cancer. He and his wife came to my studio, lugging that in just so that we would have, and a backup copy so that we wouldn't lose it, to play it on the air. That's the type of thing that was going on. Remember those moments of the iron workers and others marching into Ground Zero and cheering crowds here in New York City that were bolstering them? So how in the world do we end up? Well, it tells me, I was going to link it to something big in the news. I'm not sure of the sentence yet for Bradley Manning, who I believe is a traitor, who put all this information out there. I don't see him as a whistleblower. There were ways he could have blown the whistle rather than going to WikiLeaks. And I think he's going to be sentenced to a huge amount of time, maybe 30 years or more for what he's done. I don't think he's an American hero at all. But do we get the Bradley Mannings, do we get the Edward Snowdens, who compromise us rather than doing this through channels if they have information that we, the American people, should know? Do we get them because of guys like this? That there are a strain of Americans out there that have gotten it all wrong. And Bradley Manning, I think, thinks that this is a country that mostly does bad things. I think Edward Snowden, who's holed up right now in the Soviet Union, Russia, I think thinks the same thing. By the way, have you seen that story that's been running all day of Putin with a big fish story, a whopper of a story that the Russians don't even believe now about some fish he caught? So Edward Snowden is in a good place for him. Imagine Soviet food, Russian food in an airport in Moscow. That's where he's holed up now. These are not American heroes. These are people that have it wrong. And the guy that's over here in New York at the 9/11 Museum, he has it wrong. And I hope that some politician or some others, some taxpayers group, will get it right, that we want those iconic photos. We want to see the best of America. Yeah, we get the warts of America. We get slavery. We get Japanese internment camps. We get any number of these things. But we also get the greatness of the country. And that greatness is exhibited with that image that we've been running here on the Malzberg Show of the firefighters raising that flag above the rubble to say, we're getting off the mat, we're coming back, and we're coming at you. You killed us, our guard was down, we made a mistake, but we're coming back. I want to see those images. All right, more with Dom Giordano, some special guests coming up this hour. Straight ahead here on the Steve Malzberg program.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Yeah, that Malzberg is a heartbreaker. Dom Giordano sitting in for Steve Malzberg today. And Steve Emerson is our next guest, Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism, the go-to guy on this. And I shudder to possibly be on the other side of the issue with Steve Emerson. Hey, Steve, welcome to the Malzberg Show.
Nice to be with you, John.
Well, Steve, you're on the Christie side of this, I guess. I spoke with Rand Paul earlier today quite extensively around this. Do you see what Rand Paul and others like me might be saying, and I'm not quite as far as Rand Paul, as esoteric as Christie does in this debate on NSA?
Well, I have to tell you that I'm not 100% familiar with Christie's position, but let me tell you where I stand, and I do understand the objections, the frustrations, and the dispute with the way the operation of the NSA surveillance program is going now. Let me tell you where I stand. I believe that one, there is a need for greater oversight. That's for sure. Okay. Now I don't know where Christie is on this, but look, this is where I am. There is a need for greater oversight and a revision of the oversight of the FISA boards that are the judges that are appointed to issue the warrants. That's number one. Number two, I believe that it's necessary for the program to monitor phone calls, not the contents, but actually to basically scrutinize the phone call universe for any calls made to terrorist numbers in our Rolodexes, the CIA Rolodexes, basically. Now, I don't believe that that the CIA or NSA should be allowed to listen into the contents of conversations of American citizens.
Right. Okay.
Unless a judge, unless there's a search, unless there's a FISA warrant.
Hey, and Steve, the problem with FISA, and I don't have the exact figure, but I know they have given just a tremendous amount to this. Nothing near what would happen with the average warrant and the luck you would have if you were a prosecutor in getting that. They've almost been a rubber stamp, is what I'm prepared to say. And that's where the reform should come in. It's got to be tightened up a bit here.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they basically approved 90.
Yeah, 99 something, some high number.
I mean, the response. Look, I'm friendly with I know prosecutors who basically have to. First of all, there aren't that many FISAs. In the universe, there are only about 3,000 a year issued. So there aren't that many total relative to the population of the United States, which is 300 million, right? So when they are submitted, just so you understand that the U.S. attorneys and the prosecutors that submit, or the FBI agents that submit them, basically submit only those they know will pass muster. Okay, so let's give credit where credit's due. They're not going to submit applications for FISAs unless they're 100% sure. They believe they're 100% sure that it's going to be approved.
Hey, Steve Emerson, you know the respect I have for you, and I think you'd go along with this. Here's part of the psychology, at least with my listeners, I think. We're okay with this, just like we're okay with inconvenience in the airport. But then the same administration that's doing this has a Janet Napolitano. They're not profiling. They're not doing all the things that I think you would be on board with. If more of that were done, we're willing to do our part. We get it. There's got to be certain compromises here.
Well, first of all, you're 100% right. I mean, we have this program at TSA where we profile, 300 million people instead of a universe of 3,000.
Right.
Because we are so afraid of being accused of, quote, Islamophobia or something. Look, and I'm not saying that all Muslims carry out terrorism. I'm just saying that 98% are carried out by a certain demographic, and they come from a certain country and they occupy a certain age. But there are exceptions. There are Americans also. There are American women converts that don't fit that profile. Having said that, I don't disagree with you that we have bent over backwards to even issue rules that basically prohibit FBI agents from going into mosques to basically listen to radical speech.
Exactly. Now, but an example would be, in a heartbeat, from what I know, and I've only interviewed him once and read about him, I would make Ray Kelly, the police commissioner of New York, the head of Homeland Security. And yet, Steve, the objection to him seems to be he's too good at profiling the mosque and the things that are going on here in New York.
He should be rewarded for what he did because they stopped every single attack in New York.
It's a pretty good record.
Yeah, it's a fantastic record. And number two, his program was approved by legal experts.
Yeah.
And even John Brennan, who was part of this administration and is the one that basically appeased all these Islamic groups by allowing them into the White House. He said that jihad means peace and love. He also said that this was a perfectly good and legitimate program that he approved of. So I agree with you there. I don't disagree with you. And the fact is that Napolitano, has opened the doors for counterterrorism advisory panels to have jihadists appointed to them, which is outrageous.
Exactly. For viewers here of the Steve Malzberg program, Steve Emerson, they know your name. They know you throughout talk radio, Steve Show, my shows, a lot of shows like that. What are you working on right now? What do you have out there that maybe is not on the full radar screen yet?
Well, first of all, we came out in the last few months, actually in the last 6 months, with a new documentary on the exposing the secret Muslim Brotherhood infrastructure in the United States, which is pretty topical today considering what's going on. And it's a documentary called Jihad in America, The Grand Deception. It's unfortunately not available at Amazon right now because it's a consideration at film festivals. It just won the New York City Best Documentary Film Festival as well as Beverly Hills Film. So it's gotten some nice awards. It'll be available on Amazon starting October. But if anybody wants a copy, all they need to do is write an email to stopterror@AOL.com. stopterror@AOL.com, and we'll send out a copy. So we're still continuing to investigate and expose the infrastructure of Muslim Brotherhood organizations in the United States and their ties to this administration, and the fact that the Justice Department has engaged in, I think, what would be considered illegal action in quashing indictments of Islamic terrorist financiers. That's a major expose we're coming out in the next several weeks. We're also finishing up an expose on Benghazi, showing much more in detail about what happened there, and showing, in fact, that the United States government actually contracted with a terrorist group to provide security for the consulate in Benghazi, which basically commenced the death warrant for the ambassador. When you lie down with terrorists, what do you expect to have happen? They basically turned on us and killed the ambassador. They're having signed a contract to protect us in Benghazi.
Steve, just flat out of time today, but again, thanks, and I think we're pretty close there. I would just say that I'm sensitive, as we all are, and you certainly are in the front line to protecting America, but I think, piece by piece, looking at each part of what NSA is doing, that's where we are, and I think that's where a lot of people are moving.
I think people are very justifiably concerned, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, exactly right. Steve Emerson, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye.
Steve Emerson, really, in all the years I've been doing talk radio, the premier guy on the threat we face from homegrown jihadists and jihadists around the world. And I am very much in the Rand Paul camp versus the Christie camp on that. And I think Governor Christie has been outrageous in attacking people like me and Rand Paul and saying that we're bringing up esoteric arguments. Is an esoteric argument? A court has just ruled that when you're speaking on your cell phone, that is more the property of the provider than the expectation that you have for privacy. That is ridiculous. That's just come down today, and it ties into what I was just talking with Steve Emerson about, this whole expectation of protecting our privacy when we're not really serious in fighting the war on terror and profiling. If we did that, I think the average American would say, all right, they're serious at least. I'm going to relook at inconvenience, privacy rights, etc. But until then, no, I'm not signing off on that. All right, coming up, we have a fabulous guest. We have the dad who started a foundation in memory of his son who died because of his usage of steroids. Right out of the news. That's straight ahead here. Dom Giordano sitting in for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Steve, and I am a huge sports fan. Played college basketball, admittedly not exceptionally well. Played a lot of baseball, and I follow these sports, particularly baseball. And I'm concerned about the still ongoing steroid epidemic that's out there. In fact, the idea seems to be that all the smart guys that I hear say, what's the big deal? Well, these athletes are not only role models to little kids growing up, but kids that are not so little that want to make the next jump, make it to the major leagues from college or whatever. Our next guest here on the Steve Malzberg program is a guy I've interviewed over the years. Don Hooten is president of the Taylor Hooten Foundation. He'll tell you the story of his son and steroids. And I thought appropriate on the Malzberg Show today, given that we're going to see come Friday or even tomorrow, Alex Rodriguez and others caught up in this, maybe get a significant punishment. And maybe baseball is finally, with Bud Selig and the others, finally taking appropriate. I'd ban these guys for life. Those that are convicted of steroids the second time around, they would be banned for life. Let's bring in Don Hooten joining us on the Steve Malzberg Show. Hey, Don, it's good to talk with you again.
Hey, you too, Dom. It's been a while, but
absolutely. I haven't forgotten. And when I saw it in my local paper today, what you're doing, you feel, I think, that Major League Baseball somewhat is on this, but you want Congress to be more involved.
Well, let's talk baseball first.
Yes.
I can't express enough appreciation to Commissioner Selig and Major League senior staff. You know, all of this stuff that's going on with biogenesis in Florida, that wasn't driven by the DEA or state police in Florida. That was Major League Baseball driving it. And as painful as this process is, these guys have convinced me over the several years of working with them, they're dead serious about driving this garbage out of baseball.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is now. For viewers, talk about your son and why you founded the Taylor Hooten Foundation.
Well, my youngest son, Taylor, was a baseball player in high school, and at 16 years old, like so many other kids, a coach tells him he needs to get bigger, not inferring that he needed to do steroids, but he didn't have to. About half of the boys on Taylor's team were already using steroids. Taylor began injecting himself with steroids, and about 7 months later, he died. And Dom, we learned a couple of lessons the hard way. Number one, how dangerous these drugs can be. Not always, but they're always going to do some kind of damage.
Sure.
And then secondly, what we learned that still shocks most adults is just how many kids are actively using these drugs.
And some of them, Dan, are not for sports purposes. Some of them, like the cut look, some females and others are starting to engage in this. So it doesn't have to even be people trying to pursue this and go to college or pro ranks. It is widespread.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear you say that, because about half of the users of these drugs now aren't athletes at all, but they want to look like the athletes. And just think about it for a second. If you've got a young man, if the girls are interested in that cut look, that beefed up look, guess what they're going to do? They may not be interested in playing football, but they're sure interested in capturing the attention of the ladies, and that's what they're going to do if it takes it to get that look.
And I remember, and I wish I had been able to view it with you, someone who's lost this but taken lemons and made lemonade by trying to save more kids. I remember that spectacle in Congress. At least they did it and brought these guys in. But the arrogance of people, suddenly Sammy Sosa couldn't speak English. Palmero's wagging that finger at people. Bud Selig couldn't hear. Canseco was the only honest person there when you think about it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Well, and that brings us to our letter to Congress. You know, that day, all of the congressmen do what they do best, which was parade in front of the TV cameras and rail against Major League Baseball and talk about the kids and the bad influence that the role models were having. And they were correct. But 8 years later, and it's hard to believe it's been 8 years, Major League Baseball is now investing more in youth education on this subject than anyone, including the federal government, which in the past 8 years has done nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean that word literally. So we've written a letter to every congressman and senator that should be arriving on their desks yesterday or today, and are hoping that we can find someone that will come out of the bushes and help us attack this problem, with all of the kids.
Well, Don, what do you say to those who say, look, now, come on, we don't want to get the government involved, and you don't strike me as the type of guy that wants government involved in all of our lives and nanny state and all that. So why this? Why is it so necessary? I know why the hearing was necessary, because at that point, if Congress didn't intervene, Major League Baseball and these others were not going to do anything.
Oh, Dom, listen, I agree with you. If we could find a corporate sponsor or two that could help us grow our organization to be able to reach out into all of the schools across the country, I'd say let's go for it. But the truth is, if we're going to get, or at least, hey, if somebody feels differently, please call me and let me know, because we could use the help. But I don't know anybody else to look to that's got the reach and the depth to be able to drive this curriculum into the schools. Now, let me almost contradict myself. We've just received a grant from the state of Rhode Island, and beginning here in about 3 or 4 weeks, we will be visiting every high school in the state, talking to all of their kids and adults about these drugs. So that's a baby step.
And hopefully, Don, you'll have the fodder, you'll have the brand, you'll have the teachable moment if these guys get blasted. I mean, I think second time around for steroid abuse, you ought to get banned for life. That's it. Severe punishment the first time. Second time, though, you're out for life.
Yeah, there needs to be, I'm not an expert to know what the punishment should be, but it's clear that, as serious as things have been, there's still a group of guys that, for whatever reason, Dom, they haven't gotten the message, and they're still continuing to play with this stuff. There's just so much money at stake, but some of these knuckleheads, the message hadn't gotten through to them yet.
And what I'd like to see, Don, too, is, and I know it's difficult now, where I am in Philadelphia, Cliff Lee has spoken out about this. I'd like to see a couple players, too, start to get out there, allied with you and others, and to just vehemently go against this because it's unfair. Baseball's records are some of the most hallowed records out there. Other guys having to compete against guys like this, the pressure that they're under to have to face some guy hopped up on steroids. And then when we get down to the level of your son, how widespread this becomes, if nothing's done about it, you're going to see more and more and more of this.
Well, I would love to have, if we happen to have any major league players that are listening to us right now and you would like to jump on the bandwagon like Dom just suggested, we would love to have you, because those guys, as important as our message is, the kids look up to these players in the uniforms, and they are great spokesmen for what we do.
Oh, absolutely. Is there anything else you can add right now, any other initiative or what you're involved in? That's good news that Rhode Island will be doing this. And I'm sure, Don, I saw this in my local paper. They gave you a pretty good spread. Once these punishments come down, I just hope the American public gets it, of what the consequences of this are, that this is not something where, well, who cares? These are free agents. They can do whatever they want. They're cheaters. Like it or not, they're role models for kids. I don't care what they say. And sometimes not just little kids, but other kids, they're almost professional role models, like your son.
Well, Dom, you're exactly right. And you asked what people can do. I would love to have any of your listeners that are touched by this story and recognize the seriousness of the problem to come to our website, contact our foundation. We would love to be out not just in the schools in Rhode Island, but in your school in Philadelphia or New York or whatever market that you happen to be in. We'd love to be out talking with your athletes, your non-athletes, your coaches, your athletic directors. That's what we do now.
Thank you, Don, very much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, bud. Bye.
There's Don Hooten, now his son, dead at the age of, I don't know what I would do if that were one of my kids. He represents what is something great about America. I've interviewed in my career doing talk radio and sometimes filling in for Steve. You may have seen me or heard me. Any number of people like Don Hooten that have taken a tragedy like this and turned it into a positive to be out there affecting change. The Clearys are an example. I interviewed early on in my career this family whose daughter was raped and murdered in her dormitory at Lehigh University. And the reason was they got the Cleary Act passed, which said that you had to tell people about a felon that was going to be among them, and you had to give honest crime figures. For years, colleges were not giving crime figures or were fudging the crime figures. They would do stuff that if a crime happened on a street that was inside their campus, they would say it didn't happen on the campus, it happened on the street. The Cleary Act, as a result, is getting us more truth about criminal elements and crime on college campuses and which are safe and which are not so safe. But Don Hooten, the Clearys, hundreds of others, they are doing something because they lost something. Well, Megan Kenka, Megan's Law. I'm a fan of theirs, a friend of theirs. Little Megan Kenka killed, and as a result, we have Megan's Law nationwide. We need more of these people, and we need to support them more. All right, more of my thoughts on the news of the day coming up. Dom Giordano sitting in for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts, Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. It's Dom time. Dom Giordano sitting in for Steve Malzberg today and tomorrow. Thrilled to be here with Steve, my friend, and the great show that he does. And if you just heard Don Hooten, this issue of steroids and what it means, I guess some of it is baseball has the most hallowed records that are out there. But I've interviewed any number of these baseball players, and I've seen some of them up close, and I feel like a fool at times when I used to defend to my son guys like Roger Clemens. Clemens, he's not on steroids. You got to be kidding. Remember when he went nuts through the bat at Mike Piazza when the bat splintered at the mound? Should have been a telltale there, Dom. So now some of these guys I've interviewed, some of them up close, I immediately, and this isn't right either, I immediately start, this guy's juicing. Like, look at the guy in Baltimore now, Davis. He's doing well all of a sudden, but he had a track record in the minors of being a home run hitter. He's capable of this, but he's going nuts. So how would you like to be him? And immediately people think this guy's got to be juicing or doing Adderall or any number of these other things that are out there. And we're seeing more and more of this across America. We had a catcher for the Phillies last year, my home team, Carlos Ruiz. I really like, and he was using Adderall and got suspended. And it's actually gotten to the level where pro golfers are suspect now. I play golf, and I know calmness and the ability to calm yourself. Some of them are suspected to be taking drugs that would alter that. You're seeing kids taking SATs and claiming that they're learning disabled. Why? Well, if they have learning disabilities, they might be able to use Ritalin or some other Adderall or some of these other things, and those might be helpful to focus in on the SATs. And you get more time, too, if you're learning disabled on the SATs. There's a different time clock. Just think about the methodology we're sending out. So is it a biggie? Yeah, to me, it's a biggie. And I hope these guys get caught. Alex Rodriguez, particularly, is a repugnant figure across the board. Barry Bonds, I saw up close. It looked like he was walking around with a pumpkin on his head instead of a head. So baseball blinked. I believe, too, we're seeing this with Anthony Weiner. We're seeing this with any number of individuals. Around the All-Star game every year, I do the all-shameless team. It seems as if in America, if you're just shameless enough, if you say, I don't care what you say or what you do, like Weiner's doing now, that you can succeed. Barry Bonds walked around and he said to Bud Selig, I'm going to get the home run record. You see what the evidence is, the clear and the gel, remember all that stuff, and God knows what else he allegedly was doing. And he toughed it out, and like it or not, even I have to recognize right now that Barry Bonds is the all-time home run record. Think of Hank Aaron. Think of a great guy like Aaron who overcame racism, death threats, and all to legitimately break Babe Ruth's record, one of the most hallowed records ever. And a guy like Barry Bonds is going to hold the record over Ruth and Aaron. Something's wrong with that, and it's not just a small baseball point. It's about what's going on in America and how these things are indicators of the big picture. So, yeah, you can say these guys can choose to do it or not. Imagine your kid, though, like the guy we just interviewed. Imagine that kind of stress, a big league ball player is another. Cheaters shouldn't be able to win. We have the technology. We have the science. They ought to be stopped. And I think this week you're going to see any number of them that are stopped. And I think at the end of the day, that's definitely a good thing. Hey, something that I saw the other day, a headline that I used on my own show, but I saved it up for Steve's show. Saudi prince, one of the leading Saudi prince says blank is a threat to the kingdom, to the Saudi kingdom, to the stranglehold they have on us with oil. So you're going to be thinking there's something going on that is a threat to this Middle Eastern oil cabal, to OPEC, to all these things that we've grown up. I can remember as if it were yesterday, changing your license plates. Remember? On gas days and even in odd Jimmy Carter days that we've seen to be on. You know what it is? Fracking, natural gas. Pennsylvania, where I'm from, has a lake of natural oil underneath Pennsylvania, a la the lake of oil that's under Saudi Arabia. Natural gas, fracking. There's just been a big study in the last week or so that said that this has not caused damage, that these Gaslamp films that win their Oscars, et cetera. And I've interviewed people and broadcast from some of these areas. I had on a Democrat in Pennsylvania who went nuts. He was from the natural gas region because he said you can't get a good seat in a restaurant anymore, and women are getting VD and pregnancies because of all these natural gas guys. Well, first of all, told this state senator, isn't it a good thing that the restaurants are filled up, that car dealers are selling cars, that there's money in places like Bradford County? They have under a 5% unemployment rate in a lot of these counties in Pennsylvania. Why? Natural gas. North Dakota, more of that type of thing. And I'm hoping that as we see this play out at the state level, that Americans get it, that this is our future. It's not just about money. It's not just about running our economy. It's also about freeing us up from these countries in the Middle East that are so dysfunctional. Even with this tremendous, irreplaceable product, they still cannot feed their people. They still cannot have a functional society. And they're still caught up in two things, oil and attacking Israel. So in any way, shape, or form that we can remove ourselves from that orbit, it is stunning to see what's going on in Pennsylvania and other places across the country. And I wish that Governor Cuomo would get with that, because all the evidence is there, and all the evidence points to the fact that Governor, do what Governor Corbett is doing and allow vast regions of New York State to prosper and to help the country. So we'll see more about that. It is a very, very good thing that's going on. My eye today is on the Bradley Manning sentence. I don't know what it is yet, but we're waiting to see what former Army Private Manning got for his acts that I think bordered on treason, if not treason. I know it wasn't proven that he had the element of aiding the enemy intentionally, but he certainly did that. He compromised us with the WikiLeaks documents that were out there. I'm glad that Snowden has blown the whistle on the NSA, but I don't think he did it in the appropriate way, and I think that he compromised us too. So we'll see if we get the verdict before the end of the Malzberg Show today as far as what Bradley Manning faces. I think it was 15 counts of espionage that he was convicted of. We're waiting to see how many years he might get for that. I think 30 years would be appropriate. I know he's a young guy. Maybe he was misled into doing this, but he did the wrong thing, and he hurt us. He damaged us with the release of all this information. And when Snowden comes back to this country, and someday I think that he will, I think that he is the more serious case. And that's why we began talking with Steve Emerson and others about this with the NSA, with all these stories that are coming out, why I'm so concerned. Think about it, that a lowly, he's not a genius either, Army private overseas could get this information, that Edward Snowden, who was just a contractor in Hawaii, being paid to do this, would have access to this and could leave the country with 4 laptops, some of which he still has, of very, very sensitive classified information. Something's wrong with our security, and it gives me pause when I look at the NSA and when I look at Obamacare and this data hub that they'll have of all this information about you and me. And that's why I'm more in the Rand Paul camp. I think we're talking responsibly about pulling in and reining in NSA. People like Mike Lee, who'll be our guest in the next hour, Senator Lee, they're there. Big hour straight ahead, by the way, with Mike Lee, the leading Republican, saying that we can defund Obamacare while also continuing to fund the government so that it functions. We'll see. I'm going to push him on that in the next hour. Hope you're here to see that interview, because this is all coming to a showdown. And it's the future of conservatism, the Republican Party with this. Any number of Republicans think this is our last best chance to cripple, if not to stop in its tracks, Obamacare, which I think has to be done. Otherwise, come October 1st, when you start to register, when you see young people, when it has it dawn on them that they're going to be forced to get health care coverage, when you may not be able to get the doctor that you like and trust your kids' health to, that's all coming our way. So straight ahead, we'll have Senator Mike Lee and a bunch of others. You're watching the Steve Malzberg program. My name is Dom Giordano, sitting in for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service. Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a...
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Congress is preparing to head home for a month-long break, but before they go, President Obama headed up to Capitol Hill to meet with Democrats ahead of the expected budget battle with Republicans next month. Congress must approve a budget before October 1st or face a possible government shutdown. Senate Republicans say they won't approve any budget if it includes funding for Obamacare. Also, Congress must deal with the debt ceiling again. If the U.S. does not raise the debt ceiling, it faces default. House Speaker John Boehner blasted the president's latest economic plan, calling it a scheme.
And frankly, I think we can do much better. You know, instead of working together, the president yesterday threatened to shut down the government and recycled some of his old partisan proposals.
Immigration reform is another controversial topic on the congressional agenda in September. House Republicans say they will vote on their own plan. It is uncertain whether or not it will include a path to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Also, senators meet today to discuss privacy in the wake of recent surveillance leaks exposed by Edward Snowden. Senators question White House, FBI, and NSA officials while Congress ponders scaling back the government's surveillance programs. There were also new documents released, including the order that required communications giant Verizon to turn over millions of phone records. Meanwhile, in an interview with Russian television, Snowden's father defended his son's actions.
My son has passed, so to speak, the torch of democracy. He has shared information with us and with the media.
Also today, the Senate votes on a bill sponsored by Kentucky Republican Rand Paul that would end U.S. aid to Egypt. The White House opposes cutting off the aid because it says the money is needed to help secure the border with Israel. And a sentencing hearing begins today for Army Private Bradley Manning. The 25-year-old was convicted Tuesday on charges of espionage for releasing documents to the website WikiLeaks. But the military judge did acquit Manning of the most serious charge, aiding the enemy. The former Army analyst still faces up to 100 years in prison. And it's been a bloody month in Iraq with almost 1,000 deaths caused by the escalating sectarian violence there. Tuesday, a bomb outside a Sunni mosque north of Baghdad killed 3 people. Groups including Al-Qaeda have increased attacks in recent months as the deadly clashes between Sunnis, Shias, Kurds, and others show no sign of stopping, jeopardizing stability in the country. And next up on our Newsmax Now update, the Russian people say something smells fishy at the Kremlin. The backlash over Russian President Vladimir Putin's latest exposition of bravado, plus a Newsmax exclusive with James Zogby, founder of the Arab American Institute, who has the most to gain and the most to lose in this latest round of Mideast peace talks.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
And welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin faces backlash this morning in part because of a fish story. The Kremlin released this video of the Russian president holding a fish, supposedly that he caught, but the Russian people almost instantly started mocking him, saying that the event was staged. Putin has also faced backlash from the public for laws he's passed that target gays and ban criticism of the church. Both were supposed to increase his popularity, but have had the seemingly opposite effect. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Dr. James Zogby of the Arab American Institute says expectations for the current round of Mideast peace talks are very low.
The one who will get hurt is Mahmoud Abbas, and there will be no second chance for the Palestinians.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 31st. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. I'm a lucky guy, Dom Giordano, for an opportunity to sit in for Steve Malzberg today and to talk with one of the guys really in the center of the action of something extremely important. Senator Mike Lee, we played some sound from him from the floor of the Senate just in the last day or so, saying that if you do not defund Obamacare, if you fund it, you're for it. And those words have gone down hard with a lot of Republicans even. Let's bring in Senator Mike Lee. Senator, good to talk with you again.
Hey, it's good to be on your show. Thank you very much.
Well, I talked with you when your book was out, and I think you're being very consistent in what you're doing here. But there's a little bit of stuff that's going on, particularly Karl Rove, that I think is misstating maybe what's happening here. His argument is that we're going to be killed, conservatives and Republicans, and the government will be shut down. And Senator Mike Lee says what?
Karl Rove is dead wrong. I don't know why Karl Rove keeps saying that. It isn't true. If he thinks that's true, he's mistaken, and he's leading other people astray.
Okay.
Look, the fact is, if we want to be effective as a party, if we want to be relevant as a party, if we want in any way, shape, or form to live up to the mandate we were given when a whole big wave of us were swept into power in 2010, specifically to stop Obamacare, then we had better not vote to fund it. I'm tired of Karl Rove going around singing doom and gloom about what happens to the Republican Party if we, heaven forbid, stand by our principles. We've got to stand by our principles here. We've got to stop Obamacare's funding. And if we don't, I fear what happens not just to the Republican Party. I fear what happens to the entire country. This Obamacare law is bad. It's going to make health care less affordable, not more. It's unfair in the way the president wants to enforce it selectively. And the American people shouldn't have to pay for it.
And, Senator, you've seen this, but for viewers here, and I've talked about it on my own show in Philadelphia, when a guy like Howard Dean comes out and writes in the Wall Street Journal about the panels behind this, almost pretty close to what Sarah Palin said and was mocked extremely about death panels, et cetera, and uses the word rationing, whether they're death panels or not, this scheme has to use rationing, and rationing is bad anywhere, but particularly when we're talking about health care.
That's right. And inevitably, when you put government in charge of your health care, it's not going to end well. We've seen this movie. We see how it ends when we look at countries that have employed things like this. If you like going to the DMV, just imagine what going to the doctor is going to be like after Obamacare kicks in. And it's not a fun exercise, not something that any of us wants to consider. Again, Republicans were swept into power because of this law. We were swept into power to stop this law. We've continued to fund it ever since the 2010 election cycle. First, because we thought the Supreme Court would strike it down. That didn't happen. Second, because we thought we'd elect a Republican president who would stop the law. That didn't happen. This is our last chance. This is our last stop on the Obamacare expressway before the law kicks in on January 1st. And
Senator, the argument on the other side, which I don't support, but let me play it out for you, says this: why do this? Because then the eyes will be on you. The media is against this. This is Rove and others. Let it go into play, and America will revolt. It will be so bad, their argument is, and then we'll have traction.
Yeah, that's like saying we'll wait until the unicorns arrive and everything will be okay. Look, the fact is, once Obamacare kicks in, that's a new entitlement. It's a massive new entitlement program. There are three things in this life that are certain: death, taxes, and entitlements. Once an entitlement program kicks in America, it does not go away. When we enact a major entitlement, it's there. It's virtually impossible to get rid of.
Even a minor one, the Spanish-American War, the telephone tax for that, I mean, that was still with us. I'm in Pennsylvania, where we still have the LCB, 90 years of it, of can't privatize liquor. Once these things get in, they're not going to give up on this.
No, they're not, which is exactly why, if you don't like Obamacare, you should go to www.don'tfundit.com and sign the petition at don'tfundit.com that indicates that you want your senators and you want your representative to vote against funding for Obamacare.
And
fund government, but not Obamacare.
Where are the timelines on this, Senator Mike Lee? Where are we where the action will really take place with this?
Well, our current spending bill runs through September 30th. And so sometime between now and September 30th, we've got to pass another funding bill. I think we're now, that makes that about 62 days away. So sometime between now and 62 days from now, we'll have to pass another spending bill in order to keep the government functioning. And what I'm saying is I'd be willing to vote for a spending bill that includes funding for every other program in government, even the programs that I don't like. And I can promise you that includes a lot. But I'm not voting to fund Obamacare, because the American people don't want it. The president's admitted it's not ready to implement, and the American people shouldn't fund it.
And, Senator, I might say, too, on a personal note, you and I interviewed Pat Toomey the other day, and he seems to be in this camp. These are sober, responsible figures, albeit those that were elected with this surge. We're not dealing with some people that have been mischaracterized, but, I mean, you guys have been sober on this, and it kills me not only to hear disagreement with the Robes of the world, but there's a tonality here that you guys are just a bunch of bomb throwers that are going to really take this party down. What happened in 2012 with the tone that was adopted here versus why you were sent there for the people that supported you to do exactly what you're doing?
Well, yeah, the fact is Rove is signaling for us to retreat.
Yes.
As if he runs the party, as if we're somehow accountable to him any more than we're accountable to the voters that we respond to, the voters that are telling us, don't fund this law. Who is Karl Rove, anyway, to tell us not to do this? Why should we listen to him? He's been wrong before. He's wrong on this one. We shouldn't be listening to him. What we need to listen to are the cries that come from the American people across this country who say, do not enable this president to take over our nation's health care system through Obamacare.
Absolutely. Would you give that website one more time, Senator Mike Lee, where folks should go?
Yes, it's don'tfundit.com.
Very good. Senator, thank you very much. Thanks for the time, and good luck. We're behind you.
Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it.
There's Senator Mike Lee with us here on the Malzberg Show, and I am behind him, and I've had a belly full for years of Karl Rove on one issue after another. Karl Rove is the guy that's behind this donors, Republican donors, any number of big donors that are hammering away on the illegal immigration, the amnesty bill. It's ridiculous. Mike Lee's right. I'm glad I'm calling him out here on the Malzberg Show. I hope across the country this gets out. I know I plan to play it on my own show tomorrow. What he said is, yeah, the Karl Roves of the world, the John McCains and the others are saying, oh, better not do that. We're going to be mad. What's Karl Rove's track record anyhow? Was he really this architect or genius? I've never quite understood that. Yeah, I think he's fine, but do we answer to Karl Rove? And on this issue of Obamacare, isn't it very clear that this is the last best chance to stop this? So go to the website and urge your senator, that's the starting point, and then representatives to not fund this. You heard what Mike Lee said. The government can be funded. He'll vote for the other things to fund. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we are planning to defund Obamacare. This is the last chance. I thought last year in the Supreme Court, until John Roberts choked and decided he wanted to be well-loved and came up with this as a tax, I thought it would be stopped there. I thought Obamacare would be such, but they were smart. They backloaded it past the 2012 election, and now they backloaded it past the 2014 election for the employer mandate. I thought we'd stop it there. This may be the last best chance, because if it gets in there, if the ball starts rolling come October and people have to register and the mechanism starts to creak out there, it's going to be very, very difficult to repeal this or stop it. I don't think in our lifetime you're going to see that. All right, straight ahead, more on this and everything else in the news. My name is Dom Giordano, sitting in for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45, non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50, non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message, because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S., specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the number one cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
Hey, welcome in, everyone, to the Steve Malzberg program with Dom Giordano pinch hitting today. I just saw a news item out there that a Russian lawmaker, not Putin, but a Russian lawmaker says that gay athletes may be prosecuted at the 2014 Winter Games in Russia. And the reason I like this story is, will this unite people on the left and the right coming together to realize what we're dealing with Putin and the boys there? The headline is, gay athletes could be prosecuted at 2014 Winter Olympics, Russian lawmakers suggest today. Maybe Edward Snowden will be there to throw out the first hockey puck or something, as he still may be in exile. But, you know, Russia, China, we have to realize these guys are not playing around. These are not friends. These are not trading partners, whatever. Putin shows his hand on many occasions, and when George Bush said he looked into his eyes and saw his soul and that he was a good man, that was not a good moment. So watch for this story. Watch how it plays out. And let's see if this is a unifying factor for people to go, whoa, what do you mean that openly gay athletes may be prosecuted when you come to the 2014 games? It will be very interesting. Not that I'm suggesting there would be a boycott or whatever over this, because people that put their whole life into 4 years of getting ready for track and field or curling or whatever some of those Olympic sports are in the Winter Games, they deserve an opportunity to perform. We just heard from Senator Mike Lee, and I think he made a good bit of news here on the Malzberg Show, really going after Karl Rove, going after this wing of the Republican Party that are defeatist, that are tepid, that want to play with you if you're in the base, the true believers, true conservatives, people that say this is going to be a disaster for America. I can't even give you the time the show permits to give you the top 50 things that are wrong with Obamacare. Loss of liberty, rationing, the cost, the God knows where it leads. What we ought to do, and we all know it is, we ought to solve piece by piece by piece problems with the greatest healthcare system in the world. It is still, and it does have problems, difficulties. Solve them. Don't give us this monstrosity. So let's hope, you heard him say that sometime in September, that enough Republicans will rise up to try to defund Obamacare without defunding the rest of the government. That is doable. And when you see Karl Rove on Fox News Channel, wherever you might see him, keep in mind what Mike Lee said, one of the smart guys, one of the good guys, one of the guys that gets it, that he was sent to Washington to do things like this, to challenge this huge federal government, and no more important for him than with Obamacare, our health, and with the IRS involved, our revenue, our privacy involved. As I said to him, too, Governor Howard Dean, nobody further to the left, wrote a Wall Street Journal piece this week saying that the board that will be in charge with this is essentially going to ration health care, just as I always thought it would be. That's what you have to do when you're bringing in huge numbers of people that were not in the system. We're going to ration health care. Do we want to be like England? Do we want to do what the UK does? Do we want to engage in rationing? Already, if you have to fight with insurance companies over some procedure, medicine, or whatever, it's a problem. I've been in the ring with Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel Emanuel. I don't mean physically duking it out. I had him on the show when he had a book recently. And man, it is chilling to hear this guy's vision of healthcare, and he's one of the architects of this. Very smart guy, very driven guy, almost as dogmatic and crazed, I would say, as Rahm Emanuel is. He's the brother. Now, with guys like this, we started talking about the end of life, and we started talking about the cost of that. And it was clear where this is headed, and that is a nightmare. I'm not saying you're going to have a board saying up or down with human life, but what they'll put into the system are the tones, are the parameters of where we'll go with this, and they're all pointing toward rationing. So support Mike Lee on this. I think it's a worthy thing, and I think the government does not have to be shut down. That will be a choice of the president. This is a tough area, and if Karl Rove and others like him, I'd love to get Karl Rove on the show. I'm sitting in for Steve tomorrow. Love to get Karl Rove on so that you could hear Karl Rove and hear someone push back on this, and to say the Mike Lees, the Pat Toomeys, the Rand Pauls of the world, the Ted Cruzes will be a guest tomorrow. They're right. You're wrong. You are the Jeb Bush, George Bush wing of the Republican Party, and that's not the wing of the Republican Party that people signed up for. That's not what the Tea Party came out for and pushed these guys into office in 2010 and saved a lot of them in 2012. And I'm convinced in 2014 are going to come out of the woodwork again. They'll rise up again for the right candidates if they're not shoved aside by the insiders, the country club Republicans like Karl Rove. I've interviewed Karl Rove at least 10 times, and when he told me that on immigration he shared my bond with Dominic Joseph Giordano, a parent, sons of immigrants, he said we're Ouija's. He's Norwegian. It was almost a laughable moment to think that this guy, the architect of amnesty and pushing now Obamacare, that this is the tactical genius that we ought to follow. I don't think so. Mike Lee and that course of action, that's the right way to go. But we'll see more of this. You'll see more of this byplay. This is not an unhealthy thing for Republicans to be pushing back and forth about where they're going to go. Democrats are doing it too. If it turns too personal, if they get involved in personal shots and personal concerns, and maybe the Rand Paul, Chris Christie bout has seemingly gone a little bit that way, all right, we'll call them on that. But as long as they're talking about policy, these are big issues. No bigger issue than the libertarian element of the party pushing along the lines of individual liberty and freedom. That's the way to go. So watch for some of this stuff that Mike Lee said here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Watch for them to be out there in the news. He was very direct, very much going after Karl Rove, just as Rand Paul was earlier today. Big issues, big guests. That's what we bring you here tomorrow. Ted Cruz and some others. And we'll ask Cruz about this. And I'm pretty sure where he is to put the pedal to the metal and to say that we have to stop Obamacare. I don't see any other opportunity. This idea that if we let it come into play October 1st and people start registering, and then January 2014, the full measure of Obamacare, that somehow or another Americans will revolt, I don't buy it. I don't think it'll happen. There will be nothing to be done. It will be our fait accompli. If that's what you don't want, let Mike Lee know, sign that petition, go to the website, and join the other, pressure your local senator. I think a lot of these guys are on the fence about it, and a lot of the new guys, like a Toomey, a Mike Lee, a Rand Paul, a Ted Cruz, they're leading the charge against the John McCains, the Karl Roves, and the others, and they're saying this can be done, this must be done. All right, coming up, I'm a former teacher, taught in high schools in various places, including Camden, New Jersey, which was very difficult. Coming up, John Lott, America's greatest experts on guns, gun control, and gun safety. He'll be with us to talk about Arkansas, this one school arming a tremendous number of teachers. Straight ahead on the Steve Malzberg program.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard Lignet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is Lignet? Lignet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. Lignet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, Lignet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, Lignet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on Lignet's assessments. Lignet members receive unrestricted access to Lignet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. Lignet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what Lignet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable Lignet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join Lignet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Steve today. And, it feels like old home week. It's so comfortable here. There's a reason why you hear in talk radio certain guests, certain people that we had on. We had Roger Stone on earlier today, Stephen Emerson. And the reason is they're spectacular guests that always bring a lot to the table. Whenever there's an issue out there about people getting nuts over something that they ought to be thankful about when it comes to guns, we turn to John Lott. That's in the talk radio book. It's right here. John Lott's the guy to turn to. John Lott, of course, is the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center and author of More Guns, Less Crime. John, good to talk with you today.
Oh, great to talk to you again, Dom. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, just one little update, John. George Zimmerman, speaking of guns and things we've had you on talking about, was pulled over today speeding in Texas, allegedly with a gun, which was registered and completely legal, in his glove compartment, and it moves, bang, it's right up there to the head of national news. And it shows this confluence, particularly with Zimmerman, in the issue of guns.
Right. Well, I suppose anything he does is going to get extra scrutiny.
Well, the fact, though, that Zimmerman rescued 4 people, a family, in an SUV, the very same news organs that are putting that up there as a top headline, they had little or sometimes nothing about that fact.
No. I mean, obviously he risked his own safety to go and do that. Right. And look, I mean, here's a guy who over his life has has gone out of his way to help out other people. And, I'd like to believe, given the news coverage, that's what motivated him on the tragic night when Trayvon Martin's life was lost.
Absolutely.
He lived in a community. There had been a murder in the last year. There had been multiple robberies. There had been many burglaries in the area there, and even a rape. And he was concerned. And, one of the last witnesses the defense put on was a neighbor, a woman, who had been burglarized, had been in her home when the people had entered, and had been traumatized. And she testified very movingly how Zimmerman came by, wanted to know how she was doing, offered to help out with just even little things around the house to help her get by the shock and trauma that she was there. I mean, this is the type of guy, it seems to me, every neighborhood would love to have 10 of those guys in there.
Hey, where I grew up, John, as you know, in South Philly, we had guys like this all the time. There was a guy that we called Uncle. He wasn't your uncle. He both looked out for you, and if you went astray, he stepped in to put you back on the straight and narrow. So absolutely. But let's turn to the story we thought of John Lott, and I know I did. You know my background as a teacher, et cetera, where this Arkansas school district is arming a whole bunch of teachers, apparently, or allowing them to arm if they so choose. What do we know, John? What data do you have out there? Do you have a sense? I've interviewed the people in Texas that have done this in one school district, and they've had no problem, and it's going on for a few years. I mean, this has been out there. We have a smattering of data to see that guns are not going off, teachers are not shooting students. None of that's happening.
Yeah, well, I think the way you're looking at it is exactly the right way. Often in these debates, people bring up hypothetical things that might actually go wrong.
Right.
But we don't have to do that. We have not only these current examples. I mean, Utah, there are 5 states that allow people to carry guns on school property. In Utah, after the Newtown thing, you had several organizations that were providing free training to literally hundreds of teachers in these different meetings there. And they're allowed to go and carry on school property. But prior to the federal Gun-Free School Zone Act, you had states that allowed concealed carry, allowed people to go and carry on school property. Connecticut is a perfect example of that. Prior to the federal law, if you had a concealed handgun permit, you were allowed to carry on school property at that time. It's not something we have to guess about. But I can't find, either now in the current examples with the states that allow it or in these individual school districts, or prior to the federal Gun-Free School Zone Act, a single example of a problem where a permit holder had an accident or anything else go wrong with.
Well, let me take you through your paces, though, John. Now, if these people are, I taught for a number of years. I know the stuff that can happen. Suppose there's a fight and the teacher's involved in it, or just, with just happenstance of everyday type of activity. Sure. You hear some people say, well, they ought to keep it in a lockbox, something like that. What's the best procedure that satisfies they can get to it to use it? Is it on their person, do you think?
Yeah, I would have them have it on their person. Look, we have 9.3 million Americans who have concealed handgun permits right now. You are from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has about over 800,000 people with concealed handgun permits.
Right.
You can go through the data there. These people are extremely law-abiding. The types of problems, they're in all sorts of different areas of life, whether it be somebody next to you in a store or in a stadium or, just on a city street that's there or on a bus. And the types of hypothetical problems that one can go and bring up could surely occur in any of those types of settings also. And yet we don't see the types of problems, the type of hypothetical concerns that they raise occurring in those settings.
And Arkansas is particularly sensitive toward that. We remember the national scourge when these kids, I think one was 11 and one was 13, so they were pretty young, lured these kids and teacher to come outside the back door, I think, in the Jonesboro, and killed them right there. And these were not 18 or 19-year-old. These were 11-year-old. One was an 11-year-old kid.
Right. Look, there's one thing that we have to realize with this is I understand the reaction that people have. They just think, well, if we just ban guns from certain areas, we're going to make people safer.
Right.
The problem is, I think the exact opposite is true, despite what our natural reactions are. And one way to think about this is, let's say, God forbid, somebody was stalking you or your family. Would you feel safer putting a sign up in front of your home that said your home was a gun-free zone?
Exactly.
And nobody would do that. I've debated, I don't know how many people over the years. I've never run into anybody from the Brady campaign or other groups who'd be willing to put up a sign like that in front of their home. And it's obvious why they won't do that. But yet, even though nobody would put up a sign like that in front of their own home, we want to put them up in front of other places that we also don't want an attack to go and occur. Here's the thing. You live in Pennsylvania. Like other right-to-carry states, if you have a concealed handgun permit, you can carry your gun virtually any place. There's a few places, schools, courthouses, airports, where you're not allowed to carry.
Right.
If these types of attacks were random, then like 98, 99% of these mass shootings would be taking place where guns are allowed. Instead, the reverse is true. They're virtually all occurring where guns aren't allowed. If you look at in the United States, since at least 1950, with just two exceptions, all the multiple victim public shootings have occurred where guns are banned. In Europe, all the attacks have occurred where guns are banned. Even in Switzerland, where it's very easy to get a concealed handgun, they've had 3 big shootings, and they've occurred in just those few places within the country where people aren't allowed to protect themselves.
Yeah, it makes sense. Even with the shooter in Newtown, as crazy as he might be, as delusional or whatever, they do know, and he did know, this is an area where nobody was going to return fire, that he'd have a period of time to do what he's going to do, without a doubt.
Right. I mean, take one good example is just the Aurora movie theater shooting from last summer. You had 7 movie theaters within a 20-minute drive of the killer's apartment. Only one movie theater posted signs banning permitted concealed handguns. The guy didn't go to the movie theater that was closest to his home. He didn't go to the one that advertised prominently as having the largest auditoriums in the state of Colorado, something you would think would be the ideal target on a premiere night for somebody who wants to go and kill people. Instead, he went to the single place where victims can't defend themselves. And I could go through, talk about the Columbine or other cases.
But John, I want to turn your attention now to what hope can you give us? What does John Lott know about, as a result of Newtown? You mentioned some of the school districts. Are we seeing, is Arkansas this district, just because so many of them are doing it, are we seeing even double figures across the country that are allowing teachers that want to do this to be involved?
Well, you're seeing every place from Ohio to, Texas has had a few places, Arkansas. It's something that's changing slowly. I wish it was changing much more quickly than it is.
I'm in a camp, John, that says I'm amazed, despite all the stuff and all the killing, etc., but being in schools, seeing what the NJEA and the NEA and some of these are like and the laws, I have to say I'm positive here that I'm seeing this, as small as the numbers, as slow as this is, every single one of them is a step forward, given how tough this is to penetrate the liberal mindset in these places.
Right. I mean, you see the mindset in things like the zero tolerance policies and what have you.
Exactly.
And but as more change, these types of horror stories about hypothetical things will gradually become more and more difficult for them to make. The same type of thing happened with concealed carry. When it got passed generally, people were talking about blood on the streets and irresponsible permit holders. We have over 9.3 million permit holders right now in the United States.
I was stunned when you gave us that number, and that's a number I'll carry with me. Hey, John, we're flat out of time today, but thank you, John. Thanks very much for joining us. John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center and author of More Guns, Less Crime, here on the Steve Malzberg program. All right, some final thoughts on the news of the day. Dom Giordano, pinch hitting for Steve Malzberg.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful it's being banned by professional sports organizations. But for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream. Streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
Hey, the captain's off. I'll be a private sitting in for Captain Steve Malzberg. My name is Dom Giordano. Happy to be sitting in for Steve this afternoon. And happy because I happen to see in my show notes today, it's the 101st birthday, since he's passed, of Milton Friedman. I'm going to play you a couple cuts of Milton Friedman. I sometimes play it on my radio show. This guy is the master conservative pro-growth economist ever, at least in our lifetime. And he often appeared on popular TV shows. I know it's hard to believe, but at one point in time in America, people watched the Phil Donahue Show. Yes, Phil Donahue was the originator of the daytime talk shows. And Milton Friedman was on with Donahue, and they were debating capitalism, the merits of capitalism. Boy, a debate that still goes on, and why capitalism has freed more people, is better for people despite these back and forth over poverty and wealth. Here's a little bit of Milton Friedman on the Phil Donahue Show.
When you see around the globe the maldistribution of wealth, the desperate plight of millions of people in underdeveloped countries, when you see so few haves and so many have-nots, when you see the greed and the concentration of power within, did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy. The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade.
It's Milton Friedman, his 101st birthday today, the all-star economist. Here's a little bit more, and that's Phil Donahue. When Donahue was Donahue, here's a little bit more of that exchange on capitalism and this idea of wealth, poverty, greed. Remember, greed is good? Remember the 1980s film, Wall Street? Here's a little bit more of Milton Friedman and Phil Donahue.
So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear, that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
But it seems to reward not virtue as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think a communist commissar rewards virtue? You think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? You know, I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us. Well, I don't even trust you to do that.
All right, Milton Friedman, he would have been 101 today with Phil Donahue, and a fun, avuncular way of saying some of the things that are often said here among listeners and among hosts about capitalism, how it's the best system versus all the others, and about this idea that, yeah, as President Obama appointing all these angels, Timmy Geithner, Joe Biden, all these people that he's appointed, are they doing that because of their angelic, virtuous qualities, or because of their own self-interest, their own drive for power, their own drive for their particular agenda, which is fine? And that's what Milton Friedman was saying. I find that to be, this guy is not only brilliant, but kind of like your uncle talking about this and making it affable, making this not seem mean and harsh, and I'm out to get mine, and I don't want the poor to get theirs. I interviewed a guy today on my show in Philadelphia who's a Republican, David Reed, Representative David Reed, and he's going on a tour of Pennsylvania, a poverty listening tour, asking a simple question. He's a Republican. Why do we have so many poor people in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania? Why do we have so many poor people nationwide? Why in this land of opportunity do you see places like Appalachia, where you have a third of people in some of these counties on disability or on other government programs? Why? Isn't that a good question? Are we supposed to say, well, they're always going to be with us? Or the alternative would be, that's because of greedy capitalism. If these people over here have this much, then over here people are going to have nothing. Is it really a zero-sum game? Or Can we have the wealthy? Can we have the middle class? And can we have people growing up and coming into the middle class? And a whole lot more of them. I feel in America, if you're poor, if you're in poverty, unless you have some disease, some handicap like that, okay. But short of that, why generation after generation after generation, vast numbers of people in this same plight? Is it that somebody's keeping them down, or is it that there's various dysfunctions in their own life and poor choices? And in many big cities run by Democrats, the programs, the government programs, the very things that they constantly propose are a detriment. I think no American president, and I've read a lot about him, he was well-intentioned, but the destruction caused by Lyndon Johnson with the war on poverty, the unleashing of all these programs and entitlements, what it did to African-American families with the mail checked out of the home, all the things that we've heard and seen and have been replicated. And we're seeing this today after spending trillions and trillions of dollars. Isn't Milton Friedman a better alternative? Isn't capitalism a better alternative to that? Not crony capitalism, not corporate capitalism, where we see the greed of Wall Street. We see people that are not rewarded for what they produce, but for their connection, their clout, their insider game. I agree with all that. That's sound to prosecute those people and to deal with that, not proposing that. But when we're talking about capitalism, it is the best system for everybody because it does, maybe in an uneven, imperfect way, reward people who are striving, who are greedy, if you will, who are looking out for their own self-interest. So happy birthday if he had been here to Milton Friedman. Missed all of his books, all of his things, but it is amazing that this guy was on Donahue. I can't think of too many economists today that I can picture on TV jousting in the manner that you just saw him do. That kind of made my day to bring you that because I am such a fan of Red, and I would commend him to you. He reads very well, too. He doesn't read like a textbook, etc. So those are a few things here on the Steve Malzberg Show today. Tomorrow on the show, we have Senator Ted Cruz coming by. We heard from Rand Paul today. We heard from Mike Lee. And Cruz, arguably, is the third part of the trifecta of these younger Tea Party, if you will, revolutionary, if you will, senators. And tomorrow we'll talk with Cruz about being called a member of the Taliban by Joe Scarborough and company, about Obamacare and can we stop it without defunding the government totally, about John McCain, and about where Ted Cruz fits in as one of the real driving forces. He's being called everything from brilliant to a maniac. You'll hear him tomorrow on the show. We hope you enjoyed Rand Paul and Mike Lee today. And don't forget what Mike Lee said. Get to that website. You'll have an opportunity there to be heard and to say, let's defund Obamacare. It's a nightmare coming our way. This is the last best chance to stop it. There's the opportunity. And I really don't care what Karl Rove says, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, President Obama, Joe Biden. They're on the other side. Which side are you on? There is hope. These are the guys that we put into office, a lot of them at Congress level, a lot of them at the Senate level in 2010. Some of them, like Toomey, Lee, Cruz, Rand Paul, they're doing what we sent them there to do. The others, we're going to have to push back with them or have a primary challenge come 2014 and beyond. Really love working with the people here today, sitting in for Steve Malzberg. I'll be back with you tomorrow. My name is Dom Giordano. We'll have great guests tomorrow, great conversation with you here on the Steve Malzberg program.
The Steve